Hello?
I'd like to call this Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, Boone County Board to order. We will begin with stand with me with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation, please. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide us in our decision-making process as we meet together as a Boone County Board. Give us wisdom to make the right decisions and work together for a common goal. I'd like to honor the military, first responders, police, fire, ambulance workers that keep us safe every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll call, please?
Ronnie Riley,
Here.
Ryan Curry,
Here.
Ray Larson, Brent Mueller,
Present.
Ryan Schneider,
Present.
Carl Johnson,
Here.
Elisa Patterson, Dave Wilk, Tom
Here.
Wilk, Sherry Branson, here, Dana Logston,
Here.
Marion Thornberry.
Here. All right, and I'd like to entertain a motion to allow Dave Wiltsey and Alyssa Patterson to attend the meeting remotely tonight.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Mr. Thornberry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Welcome, Dave and Alyssa.
Thank you.
All right. 3.1, approval of the agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting, please.
So move.
Motion by Ms. Branson, second. Mr. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I will entertain a motion for approval of the December 5th, 2022 County Board Organizational Meeting and minutes of the January 19th, 2023 Boone County Board Meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Curry,
Second. Second by Wilson.
seconded by Mr. Wiltsey. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comment. I think I've got two public comments tonight and in no specific order. We will listen to Mr. Dwyer. Yes, come on up, please, to the podium. State your full name, please, and your address for the record.
All right. Members of the board, my name is Brady Dwyer. I own the property at 7555 Garden Prairie Road in Garden Prairie. Spoken briefly to Brent Mueller, Justin Crone, and I've been playing phone tag with Ray Larson. Thanks for your time. The property is a 110-acre farm on the east side of Garden Prairie Road where Lawrence dead ends. I'm here to bring to the board's attention the ongoing dangerous nature of that intersection, ongoing damage to property from people failing to stop at the intersection, and most importantly, respectfully, to request an overhead beacon and additional street lighting be installed at the intersection, similar to the improvements at Poplar Grove and Squaw Valley Road. For those of you that may not be familiar with this, with that road, it's a 5-mile straight as an arrow rural road that dead ends through my property and launches cars into my property. Since I've owned the property, which is about 9 years, there's ballpark probably been between 25 and 50 accidents there. This is 5 police reports since December 1st, so in less than 3 months. Each one represents thousands of dollars in damage, fencing, landscape, vehicle damage, deployment of police, ambulance, signs, etc. Majority of the accidents are hit and run, which means I, a very small business owner, am out of pocket. It's only when the vehicles are disabled or an ambulance is called that there is a police report made, which is the only way I've ever been able to recoup damages. Big thank you to Boone County Sheriff Department. Anyway, I'm seeking remedy. I know the board does not deliberate or make decisions in this setting. So with that, I greatly appreciate your consideration for improved lighting, overhead flasher at the intersection, and I will follow up with any county department or employee board advises. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Are there any questions for me?
We don't normally take questions during public comment, so.
I just didn't hear the intersection.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Garden Prairie Road and Lawrenceville Road.
Okay. All right, very good, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate your coming up. All right, second one is Mr. Richard Wolf. Mr. Wolf, step up to the podium, state your name and your address for the record. And I forgot to mention to the other, but he kept it under 3 minutes, so I'd appreciate you've been here before.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Richard Wolf, 9698 Spring Road. Terry's handing out a couple pages for you I'd like to speak on. Some county venues advertise that they're going to have their Mexican rodeo, and they have it in Spanish instead of English rodeo. And they also talk about they're going to have a dance. Now, I thought when they asked for not a special, but a temporary use permit, if it's for a rodeo, why are they having a dance for music, for a concert? This flyer here came from 289 Irene Road, Kirkland, Illinois. And you can see it mentions what I just said. So they have their rodeo, and then they just seem to just throw in a dance, you know? And they don't have a dance hall permit, which was in the uses, it shows for uses for dance halls, you don't even have a permit for them. So that's probably where they make a lot of their money, is having these concerts and dances. 289 Irene Road has been doing this for many years. When we had meetings with the ad hoc committee a year ago, they mentioned that they've been doing it and following the rules for over 10 years. So I don't know. I just have a recent flyer. They already have a special use permit, and they apply for temporary permits. Now they want one for Assembly Hall. Well, I guess they could have a birthday party and have a concert, you know, thrown in there afterwards. They do it with the rodeos. So, I mean, that kind of thing could happen. The other page shows, was printed 4/12 of last year, 2022, shows the 289 Irene Road as a concert venue right underneath their page for Facebook. Since then, they took down their Facebook page, but we've accumulated some of their pages that they had on there. And it doesn't seem like it's a small-time operation if they have 6.7 thousand likes on that page. Maybe they should be zone B1 for all the activities that they have. I'm not against rodeos, concerts, or dances. I just don't think they should be in the backyards of A1 zoning. Special use permits should be case by case when given. I hope you vote no for this application of Assembly Hall, because it was very vague on what they wanted to do. Hopefully some of you talk to the members of the ZBA and find out what their concerns were, why they wanted to have restrictions on this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. I appreciate it. All right. Anyone else public comment? All right, we're going to move along to 6.1 appointments. At several appointments on here, so I will make a motion that we I'd like to entertain a motion to approve all the appointments that are on the list.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Wahlberg, seconded by Mr. Thaler. Is there any discussion on any of these? Mr. Mueller?
Should I abstain from voting, seeing my wife is on here?
That's it. All right, any other discussion?
And shit. Oh, shit.
All right. All right, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? Motion carries. Appointments are approved. Thank you. Seven point one, Council on Aging. And I believe Alyssa Patterson's our Council on Aging, but I think she's having trouble getting on with the Zoom. So that's okay. She's watching tonight, I guess, so that's the best we can do. We'll move on to 7.1, Growth Dimensions. I think Pam is here tonight. Pam, would you come on up?
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. I had shared on your table, your desk, some information. What we're trying to do is provide you with some more information regarding our impact. And so we created a dashboard for some metrics that might be interesting to you. We wanted to, we're going to start using this dashboard, put it on other social media pages, so it shows exactly where we've been involved. So I just wanted to kind of go through this a little bit. Some of the active business projects we went through, so it shows you the business projects that are currently engaged. In the past, I've shared with you that last year we ended with over 90 active projects, but you didn't know where they were in the stage. So I kind of put aside some that we communicated in the last few months with. And so under stage one, with as far as new businesses or that are not located in our area, we have 19 active projects, and stage one focused on our initial contact with them, or we responded to for some information, provided the whether or not it be broker, lawyer, company representative, somebody that's representing the company. Stage two, for new businesses, we identified that there's been 6 under stage 2, which means that we met with them or we did some due diligence. They're in the process of doing some engineering studies, some road work, some due diligence on their part, or we've been having some local meetings with them. And stage 3, which we have 10 businesses, 10 new businesses. These are businesses that have been involved in, that have made a commitment, or they're currently involved in construction. And then we did the same thing with our existing businesses. These are businesses that are currently in our community that are interested in growing or expanding, or they're in the process of a new project. So we have 8 in stage 1, 2 in stage 2, and 15 in stage 3. Also, we wanted to track how many contacts that we've made each this year. Right now, we have 45 business contacts. And then you're familiar with some of the information that we've shared with you on our social media and our enterprise zone activity. So early in the year, but we've had a lot of activity when working with different projects. In addition to that, we've had discussions regarding broadband. We have some resources that may dedicate. Also, we understand that there's some federal resources that will be designated to each state to address plans in broadband. So we'll be working with the taxing bodies, a regional planning council, and the state to maybe define what that plan will look like for Boone County. So these funds may be able to be used for implementation as well. So we want to get ahead of that so we'd be qualified for some implementation funds. We're also working with the Stellantis idle. As you know, the Belvedere Assembly Plant will be on idle as of the 28th of this month. So the Workforce Connection and partners in our community have been providing resource fairs and other fairs in order to help keep and retain our workforce in our community, because while we understand that some of them have to maybe go to another area to relocate in order to receive the same benefits they have, we have talked to businesses in our area that also are hiring. They have competitive wages, competitive jobs, and we want to retain that workforce here. And so we're doing what we can in our power so we can do that. while continuing to have those conversations with our partners in the state, in keeping the automotive industry alive. And then in addition, we're also working with small business development. We're going to be having a venue in the end of March to work with Hispanic businesses that are interested in receiving some resources or that maybe aren't aware of the resources that are in our community. And then we're also working with our regional partners on ACE workshop for entrepreneurs, and we'll also be combining that with other like Fast Pitch in Rockford. We're going to be combining those venues. We're going to be working to try to help businesses get those resources. We understand that businesses that are aspiring or interested in growing, they don't know how to do that. They don't know the steps. They don't know the people that are involved. And we want to make sure that we bring that funding in to help them thrive. That's just kind of a summary of some of the things that we're working on, but I'm available if there's any questions or comments.
I'm just going to make a quick comment on your on what we talked about on the Stellantis idle. While I haven't been able to bring everybody into the board, information verbatim, chapter and verse, I'm just going to say that, and I think Pam, you'll agree with this as well, that we have worked very hard with our local leaders, state, local, and even federal leaders. I've attended several meetings over the last month and a half. We put out just about the best deal that we can put out at this point to try to get to something going with Stellantis. There's still some things in the works. We're hoping to have some information before the date on this coming Tuesday, the 28th, but unfortunately, the last meeting I attended, not probably going to hear anything until sometime in March. So we're still hoping, we're still working very hard, very diligent on coming up with some kind of a plan for that, for what's going to happen the next chapter in that project. Does anybody else have any questions for Pam? Tom, I know I've had you, been helping me with the growth dimensions meetings. Any comments that you have to make from the meeting that you've attended or meetings?
No,
Not trying to put you on the spot, but.
No, that's okay, Rob. Thank you for asking. So we had a board meeting Wednesday morning, and it went well. It was brought up, one of the questions, for the county was in regards to something that I think we've addressed with the legislation around wind turbines and solar. We want to know, our position on that. But a lot of the topics were discussed that Pam has brought forward, and so appreciate all the effort.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments for growth dimensions? Mr. Curry.
Any chance we can get a little bit more information on the perceivable future of the project that's going on out there? Is it Yukon?
Yes. So Project Yukon, it has gone through due diligence stage. So we've had, and right now we're meeting with taxing bodies and negotiating incentives. So we're hoping to bring some more information and actually have the company representative come and talk to you directly. So I know the chairman and Ms. Tobin have been involved in that process. So we will actually have a meeting tomorrow morning. I talked to them today, and we hope to have a draft letter of their request by end of day tomorrow or next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Really appreciate that. We did get a lot more information though from them. This will be pretty significant. The number of jobs we're talking about north of 400, it could be up to 700. About a $1.2 billion investment. As we know that this will bring about 1,900 trucks per day, which will bring a lot more business. We already have a number of gas stations and other businesses contacting us interested in being around the corridor.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along. 7.3 CASA. Mr. Curry.
We met last night over the phone, obviously due to the storm. So we were kind of quick, but wanted to touch. We got an upcoming event this Sunday, the Icon Show. It's a great show. It raises money for CASA. It's February 26th. Doors open at 1 p.m. I forget how much the tickets are, but you can buy tickets at the door. $15. Yep. It's a really fun event. Currently we have 41 families with 81 children, 26 advocates. 24 of those advocates have cases right now. We're always looking for more advocates. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to Charlotte over at CASA. I think that's it for now. We will be doing Build a Bike. It might be May 16th. But, I don't know, but we're always getting involved in that. It's a really great organization. Put on, who does Build a Bike?
Build a Bike committee.
There's an actual Build a Bike committee, okay. But that's coming up in the future that everybody can get involved in, which is really great for local kids. So that's it.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Curry regarding CASA? All right, moving along. 7.4, Region 1 Planning Council. Again, we've been working very hard, Region 1, on the Stellantis project along with other projects. R1 did just get a federal designation recognition. Vice Chairman Curry and I went to that press conference. I think that was end of January it was, right, or the first part of February. A lot of state, local, even the national leaders were there to express their gratitude and that the Region 1 Planning Commission was getting that federal designation. So any questions on anything else going on with R1? All right, we'll move along then. Anybody have anything else? 7.5 is other, but I don't think we have anything. Mr. Thornberry, yes.
Yeah, Tim. I attended my first VAC meeting tonight. And they're under over some of these new regulations that are coming down. Got a lot of stuff to work out there. States wanting them to violate what they consider a VAC HIPAA violation. One lawyer said it is a violation. Another lawyer said it's simply a conflict of interest. But it's going to get worked out in the big end. The important part that I got out of it is that under these new rules and regulations, when we voted the VAC in, which we didn't have a choice, the state told us we did it one way or the other. We voted to use the 3%. Had two choices, either 3% or 4%. You could go either way. The 4% had a lot more regulations involved. So we did the 3%. Under the new regulations that they're coming down, that's not all we're responsible for. If at any time the VAC exceeds the 3%, they can still make us pay for any and all over expenses. So no matter what happens here, we're going to still be responsible for anything and everything the VAC needs. That's the gist of it. It's still up in the air. There's a lot that's got to be worked out, but I thought that was the most important part.
All right, very good. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Thornberry? All right, thank you, sir. Moving right along, fund transfers. We'll need a motion to approve that then, correct? The consent agenda. That the consent agenda has been attached to the board docs. I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Branson, seconded by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? All right, no discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Motion carries. Road projects, we have none. All right, I guess we move on to new business. And we have 9.1. I need a motion to approve collective bargaining agreement between the county and the UAW Local 1268 representing the county clerk and office. I'd like to make that motion, please. Or actually, I'll make that motion, right? Can I make that motion?
Usually it's proper for someone else to make that
All right.
motion.
Well, entertain a motion, please, on Mr. Thornberry. Seconded by Ms. Branson. Any discussion? Good. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Brian Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
No.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
No.
Marion Thornberry.
Yes.
Motion carries. Do I need to mention that Alyssa's on that one?
You can, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make a note into the record that Alyssa Patterson had some issues with the Zoom, but she has joined us about 5 minutes ago. So welcome, Alyssa. All right, 9.2, I'd like a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the county and the Teamsters Local 325 representing the Animal Services Department.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Schneider. Any discussion?
I'm voting, this is Dave Wiltsey.
Yes, Mr. Wiltsey.
I'm voting no on the June 19th meeting. Holiday, that's my principal discussion issue. Juneteenth is a holiday. It's
Very
the
good.
same as 9.
Okay. All right, roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Brian Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
No.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
No.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
Yes. Motion carries. 9.3, I need to entertain a motion to approve exchange server upgrade and purchase from Forefront FM-400F spam security filter.
So moved.
By Mr. Mueller,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? Mr. Johnson, yes.
I'd just like to ask County Administrator, where's the money for this coming from? I'm assuming it's not a budgeted project.
This is not budgeted. This will come out of contingencies.
Okay.
Pat Malloy is here to address if there are any specific questions about software or the licenses.
Any other discussion? You want to come on up, Chief Deputy Malloy?
Some of the information that's not covered in your guys' handout, though, is some of the longevity of it. The exchange that we'd be buying, the exchange upgrade, server upgrade, is going to exchange 2019. The end of life on that one is going to be 2025, to be exact. So it's going to be October 14th of 2025. After that, they will be coming out with an exchange server of 2025. We're probably going to have to be going through the same process again when that happens. Typically, they last 7 to 8 years. And that would be projecting at 2025 would take us into 2032, just kind of guessing. All this information was provided to me by the IT department. So they're kind of guessing. Nothing is cemented in that at all. We did look into a couple other options. We looked into Google, which the project itself is not as quite as user-friendly and it costs more. And we looked into the cloud option. Just by the number of mailboxes that we have, the transfer of the information that we already have in our system be a one-time transfer cost of $250,000. Just kind of guessing, give or take a little bit. And the monthly cost for the number of mailboxes would be approximately $10,000 for the cloud service. So those are the options.
Anybody have any questions for the Deputy Chief? Mr. Loxton?
Yeah, it was just on the, are you worried about on the cloud server? Is that kind of hackable?
Judging by the price tag, we didn't look into it too much just because that kind of seemed like once we got the initial numbers, it wasn't, in our opinion, a serious consideration.
Curry.
Did IT make known that this would be an eventual, or I think a lot of people are going to the cloud as much as it is? Is this something where we're buying time with this program before, so that we can save up and sooner or later, have to use the cloud?
Well, talking to our IT supervisor, Joe Shadden, it was his opinion that they wanted to move everything from physical server and into a cloud-based performance with the email. Because of the price, they were getting a lot of kickback from larger areas that, especially like county governments that can't afford that type of out of pocket. So that's why 2025 was created. They weren't going to actually have that. They created it because of the kickback. So they're hoping that they will continue to have a physical server that we keep on site at the PSB, kind of like what we've had.
Sure.
And that's the hope, is that they'll constantly keep a physical server because of price.
Thank you. And sorry.
Please go ahead.
Will that server be able to, once, the inevitable body cams come, that's going to obviously be a larger base for those servers or a load, we'll still be able to use this server with all of that?
Yes, this is email. We're completely set for Boone County's transition to body cams. Awesome. We are set.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, seeing no other discussion, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
No.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, I'm going to move on to section 10 here, Committee of the Whole Administration. Mr. Larson's not here. If Mr. Curry wouldn't mind, could you take that for me, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Item 10.1, I move to approve low bidder for Poplar Grove Road Bridge Replacement to Civil Constructors Incorporated, DBA Helm Civil, in the amount of $1,640,466.97.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Seconded by Brent
All
Miller.
right, seconded by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? Mr. Johnson, yes.
Just want to inform the board that I will be abstaining on this, as Civil Constructors is one of my customers.
All right, very good. Any other comments, questions on this? All right, seeing none. Roll call on that or no?
Yes.
Roll call by the clerk, please.
Dave Wiltsey,
Aye.
Carl Johnson,
Abstain.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Ryan Schneider.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Curry.
Item 10.2, I move to approve BLR 05530 Local Public Agency Engineering Services Agreement for Poplar Grove Road Bridge Phase 3, construction engineer contract to HR Green in the amount not to exceed $298,000.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Thornberry. Any discussion? Mr. Schneider. Oh, all right. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Ryan Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 10.3, I move to approve resolution 23-06, support for Boone, McHenry County 5 Bridge Bundle.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Branson. Any discussion? Before we vote on that, I do need to make a amendment to the motion. I was informed by the highway engineer that we need to add the wording, whereas $3 million has been earmarked with local funds for this project. So before we vote, we'll need to vote. Like I've made that amendment. Do we need a second on that, I would assume? Second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, we'll take a roll call for the motion first and then can we take a?
You can take a voice vote.
Voice vote on the amendment. All right, so we'll take a voice vote on the amendment. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries. So then we'll move on to the original motion. We had our motion and second. So if the clerk would call the roll, please.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Curry.
Item 10.4, I move to approve low bidder precision tiling in the amount not to exceed $30,000.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Thornberry. Any discussion? Mr. Mueller.
So looking at this, there's only about 30 billable acres that the county has, 30 to 40. And this exceeds over $1,000 an acre. I don't know if we can recoup our cost on this $30,000. I understand that it's going to be water that's coming onto our property, on the county's property. But I think there should be something looked into it where the property owners to the north that are wanting to run the tile should be paying a little bit more into the, to get the tile to go all the way through to Wood or Squaw Prairie Road. So I'll be voting no against this.
Okay. Any other discussion, Mr. Wahlberg?
I think we talked about this at the committee meeting. I agree with Mr. Mueller on that thinking. There should be some cost shares. Now, Ms. Tobin informed us that they maybe gave us concessions on the cost per foot. I don't know if that's a fact, if we can know that. That would be, I express the same concerns.
All right. Mr. Crowe, you have a comment on this?
I do. So since the committee meeting, I did go to the owner to the north and requested participation in our project, and they did not offer any.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? All right. Madam Clerk will call the roll, please.
Tom Wahlberg,
No.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
No.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
No.
Brent Mueller,
No.
Brian Schneider,
No.
Dave Wiltsey,
No.
Carl Johnson,
No.
Elisa Patterson.
No.
That motion fails. All right. Mr. Curry.
Item 10.5, I move to approve resolution 23-05 in opposition of Illinois Public Act 102-1123.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Mr. Lux?
Second, Dave Wilson.
Okay. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Curry.
First of all, I'm a huge supporter of us doing this resolution. Tricia, you've been in talks with neighboring Is there anything new like coming up with this? Is there a game plan set forth that we can?
We're going to discuss it further at the admin meeting next week.
Okay.
Be more details about that.
Okay.
And I will echo the sentiments that I feel the same way, Mr. Curry. Anyone else? All right. We don't need a roll call on that.
Not on this one, no.
No. All right. Very good. All right. The motion and the second is on the floor. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10.6, I move to approve agreement with GovTemp HR for planning services. Ellen Weber will provide planning services on an average of 2 days per week through March 2023 with potential to extend the contract into April if necessary.
All right. Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? Seeing none. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walber.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries. Mr. Curry.
Item 10.7, I move to approve ordinance 23-10, adopt chapter 30, article 3, farmers market in the Boone County Code of Ordinances.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? Miss anybody? Nope. All right, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Rodney Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brent Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Curry.
Item 10.8, I move to approve ordinance 23-09 SUP-01-20223 Robles special use.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second? Mr. Johnson? Any discussion on this motion?
Can I make a comment about that language?
Yes, and go ahead. Our state's attorney's got a comment on this first, please.
Sure. We had, there had a question had come up regarding section 2 in the ordinance when we were at committee. And we actually did request for that to be removed from the ordinance before it was put on the agenda tonight, and that didn't happen. Obviously, you know, there was some flux in the planning department between admin and now. So I would just ask that the board make a motion to strike section 2. So basically, I think what happened is that we used the ordinance template for the special uses. And this language in section 2 really applies if it's an ordinance, much like that farmer's market ordinance that we just passed, to make sure that there's nothing conflicting in the code. And I think just over time, it got in here and using a template and we never removed it. So that would be my recommendation, is to remove section 2 because it doesn't necessarily go in the special use ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then as a are we amending this then, or we're going to amend it? We're going to amend the motion then to remove section 2 of the ordinance. Motion by Mr. Wiltsey and seconded by Mr. Johnson, I believe. Any discussion on that amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, say by, indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries. We go to the original motion now. Any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have discussion.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Wiltsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you look at the Zoning Board of Appeals memo of Tuesday, January 24th, and you look at the various alphabetical designations for a special use, it says in the memo, the agricultural use will be preserved because of existing infrastructure. Okay, so it's still farmland. I don't find that to be valid. And then it's called, and then it further says a niche industry. I don't find that to be significant. Section C, regulations and conditions must be met of the local area. I don't think that's happening here. D, applicable regulations, lot development standards of the zoning district in which it's located. It's an A1. It obviously doesn't apply. E, pursuant to, says in the language, pursuant to the recommendations of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We all know that the recommendations of the Zoning Board of Appeals aren't in this final motion, if I'm not mistaken. F talks about indoor uses, and I'm not sure that we really established that case. And then the recommendation is the finding of facts have been met or will allow a special use. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to suggest to you, and I thought we were going to get some different language on this, but I'm going to suggest to you that this is really a rezoning. These temporary and special uses for so-called animal shows and so forth, it's really a rezoning. And a rezoning has higher standards. And we ought to be looking at this closer and not just passing these special uses willy-nilly that have no sunset and are difficult to remove once they're passed. And I think we should have a moratorium on these special uses until this whole thing is really closely looked at, reworked to be to the benefit of the applicant and the benefit of the neighbors and of the county. Right now, we are piecemeal band-aiding special uses and temporary uses on issues that should be a rezoning because of a different use, significantly different use of the property. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What do you think on that, Trish?
I guess I just want to make clear that what's before you today is a special use, not a temporary use. The temporary use of animal show and rodeo shows, that is not this is a special use for assembly hall. I just want to make sure that those aren't conflated at all.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I understand that, but I'm just suggesting to the whole body that this whole special use, temporary use thing has gotten out of hand and we need to look at it closer.
And thank you, Mr. Wiltsey. Anyone else have any comments? Mr. Snyder?
So this is a special use permit or to have as a venue, correct?
Correct.
So at any time, if they switch over and have a rodeo without getting the proper permit for that, can we pull their special use permit and deny it at that point?
They would be in violation of the special use, and that would be an ordinance violation. That could be one of the remedies that we could seek. Yes. To pull the special use.
Yeah, I just don't see it come in as a special venue where they're gonna just have, weddings and birthday parties and those kind of things. And also we've got the same thing going as we do out here on Garden Prairie Road with the rodeos. If they're gonna do that, then they need to go a different route to try and get a permit because this is, so they're not trying to slide in the back door to try and get this approved and then all of a sudden wind up with rodeos out there. It needs to be kept as a venue, correct?
That's what the permit would be for a special use for an assembly hall. It is not for a rodeo permit. If they rodeos under the special use, that would.
If they violate that, then that permit would be pulled.
Well, it's not, a temporary use permit is different than a special use permit. We would have to file an ordinance violation. And one of the remedies that we would ask the court to grant us would be pulling the special use. Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this?
One more, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Notice what the state's attorney has said. Go to court to ask. We've lost control at that point, and the court may or may not grant it, and it would require litigation.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry, Mr. Wahlberg, go ahead.
Does the applicant have anything that they would like to share? I know they spoke to committee.
Just
just wanted to point out again, I know there was a lot of discussion at the last meeting that we were together.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, point of order, we need name and address.
Yeah, Nathan, yeah, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Johnson. Nathan Noble, attorney for the applicant, 504 North State Street, Belvedere, Illinois, 61008.
Gracie Robles, 289 Erie Road in Kirkland.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. And with respect to the statements that were made, I completely agree with the state's attorney. If there's a violation of, let's just go there. Everyone's thinking about it. Okay, a rodeo, right? A rodeo, just if you pass this, this doesn't allow rodeos. I just want to make sure that's very clear to the board. This is just allows assembly hall possibilities, okay? If my client wanted to have a rodeo, she would have to, just like everyone else right now, apply for a temporary use permit, which is not this. And I agree with the state's attorney, if there's a violation of anything under that, right, that would be an ordinance violation, or which is listed right under your proposed ordinance in, number 3 there. This thing is conditioned on compliance with all blah, 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 state, federal, state, local. You guys would be an applicable local rule or regulation. That's what an ordinance is. And then I think also what was added on there that was not maybe brought up before, this is including but not limited to noise ordinance 17-19. Fine, I have no problem with that putting on there. It's the law anyway, whether or not you say it, it's true, and it's an independent that can be used to vacate any special use. So any specific questions?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Noble?
And I will leave you with, that may be correct, that this needs to be reviewed comprehensively, but that should not be applying to my client right now who's before you for a vote. These other things that have been talked about.
Mr. Wiltshire, let him finish, please.
These other things that have been talked about were not applied to literally the last applicant that went through this process. So if that needs to be addressed in the future, great. It should be addressed in the future, but not as part of this passage.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Noble. Mr. Wilson, do you have another comment?
Yes, thank you. I have a question to Mr. Noble. Mr. Noble, if this board reenacts or reimposes a noise ordinance that has a decibel level, would you believe that your client has to comply with that?
Assuming that is constitutionally enforceable, yes, any ordinance that is passed validly that is enforceable can be used to allow anyone to be subject to a violation, whether it's a parking violation or otherwise.
Well, I guess my question really is, do you believe that the granting of this special use and a subsequent adoption of a decibel level objective standard would apply to your client or not?
I'm not going to concede to that, only because even in the prior boards, I've sat in on a lot of these very, very long conversations as to whether or not how you're going to measure that. And I don't even want to get into that. But presuming it's enforceable, then absolutely, my client would be subject to it. And I'm not trying to dance around it. There's a real issue, and maybe some of the people in this room kind of remember a lot of discussion, maybe not in this context, but other contexts, as to adjacent property owners and noise and trying to measure that. It's a real issue, yes. And as long as whatever ordinance is passed is uniformly applied to everyone, and it passes constitutional muster, then my client would have to comply with that, whatever it is. I don't know if that answers your question.
All right. Any other discussion? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
For me, it just means we'd have to go to court again. I mean, I believe it was a mistake. We took the decimal level out. It's an objective standard, not a subjective standard as to what's too loud and not too loud. And I believe that any action we make on any of these things until we get this noise ordinance resolved. See, it's not about the use. It's about the sound to the neighborhood and how much it may be disruptive. And that's where, ladies and gentlemen of this board, I believe we're making an error by moving forward until this noise ordinance issue is resolved.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wiltie. Mr. Curry.
I don't disagree with the noise ordinance. What I take into consideration with this permit is we asked about relationships with neighbors, with concerns with neighbors. They had none. They have relationships with their neighbors. Now, where, as Mr. Wolf had stated before, I agree on a lot of that sense, but I don't think this pertains to this property. I think it should be approached property by property. I think this property sits in a spot where it's out in the middle of nowhere, or at least isolated enough where it hasn't affected anybody and had issues in the 10 or 11 years that they've had shows out there. So I'm sorry, I wouldn't disagree with a noise ordinance, but to hold that back or to stop this from moving forward, I think is wrong. And if you're popping up in the middle of a subdivision or adjacent to a subdivision that's going to keep people up all night, I 100% agree with it and should not happen. This does not happen at this property. So I've driven out there. I'm sure a lot of you have. When they first approached us at the admin meeting, we asked about the neighbors. They gave an explanation to it. We didn't have a huge outpouring like we have at the other places because there just isn't one. We're creating a situation and comparing to other issues, which is not fair to this permit itself. So with that being said, I would approve this one.
All right, thank you, Mr. Curry. Any other discussion? Mr. Wahlberg.
Just a final comment. I concur with Mr. Curry. And we did talk about this, and seeing there's no neighbors here this evening to object to this property.
Very good. Mr. Johnson, yes.
I would concur with Mr. Curry and Mr. Wahlberg that I think Mr. Curry makes an excellent point. This is not in the middle of a subdivision. This is, out in the middle of open area. It's not an outdoor venue. It's an indoor venue. Therefore, the noise, just by nature of being an indoor venue, is going to be more contained. I see no problem with this.
All right. Anyone else comment?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, just very briefly in conjunction with Mr. Johnson just said, I just wanted to make sure nothing was misstated here. It does stay right on your section 1 there, permit an assembly hall as an event venue with an outdoor component. So I didn't want to say we were hiding the ball or anything like that. It does say that. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other comments? All right. Motion's on the floor. It's been seconded. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Dana Logston,
No.
Marion Thornberry,
No.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brett Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
No.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
No.
All right. Motion carries. All right. We'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Curry. Any other?
I have nothing. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Mr. Mueller, finance, please.
11.1, motion to approve the claims with understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting. All claims presented by William Charles, Northern Illinois Service Company, Corn, Maine, and all claims submitted by the Boone County Highway Department and claims submitted by any county department regarding sewage, stormwater, and construction and excavation.
All right. Motion on the floor. Is there a second? Mr. Schneider, second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Marion Thornberry,
Yes.
Ronnie Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brett Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Aye.
Elisa Patterson,
Yes.
Yes.
Sherry Branson. Yes. Dana Logston.
Yes.
Motion carries.
11.2, motion to approve the proposal for Sedavata Architects for conceptual architectural services for building in addition to the Boone County Administration Campus to house the Boone County Health Department.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curry. Any discussion? Mr. Johnson, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple questions. One, was this budgeted in the county budget?
This was not budgeted. This could come out of the ARPA funds.
I think that, you know, again, and I've said this before, we have the ARPA funds and we need to make sure that we control how that money is spent. I think that we have many departments, and the health department is one that has a large desire to spend those funds in many ways. Some are needful, some are not. I think in this particular instance, I look at this and the health department has its own levy, has its own budget, has its own funds, its own board. If they feel the need to pay an architectural group to do a study to see what a new facility would look like for them, I would recommend they utilize their existing funds and their existing levies to do so. That's my opinion.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Anyone else? Mr. Wahlberg?
I agree with Mr. Johnson. Initially, I guess I thought this was some type of they use the word addition in the proposal here. And I understand if the health department needs additional room, I think there's other ways we can do that, a study, maybe not this study, but a study to figure out how we can maybe organize the building a little better. If they need a room for patients or whatever. Totally understand that. I ran on being fiscally responsible for Boone County, the people of Boone County, and I just don't think that this is what the people of Boone County want. And I'm sure I'm going on a limb here, but that's an awful big expense to go down this road and think that we're going to build a new building, because ultimately that's the outcome of what we're trying to study here. There's a lot of other things that need to be looked at before we pursue that, in my opinion. I will be voting no for it, but I agree with Mr. Johnson as if the department has the funding and they would like to do it out of their budget, I'm certainly okay with that. But we've had other departments in the county, other examples, who've done that for their remodeling or architecture work. So that's my opinion, and I'll be voting no.
Mr. Wahlberg, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Curry?
Yeah, Dave Wilson.
About a minute, Dave.
I don't disagree with.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't disagree with Mr. Johnson or Mr. Wahlberg. If this were something used just for the health department, then I would agree with you 100%. That's not what I think the goal is here. Talk about fiscal responsibility is we pay rent for CASA. We pay rent every single month for the VAC, which is not fiscally responsible. We have funds right now that we can use to make a footprint in our county that will take away all renting and put departments in a building that can be utilized for years to come. This is something that you're going to see physically instead of a fund here, a transfer there, or a new position hired here or something like that. This is something we can physically see and make a lasting impression in our county that we use these funds for, and will help out multiple departments. This isn't just for the health department. This is for all the agencies that are spread throughout our county and renting thousands and thousands of dollars that we pay for rent every single month, which I'm not saying we can't find a better way. I just want that known before we vote, that this isn't just the health department. The health department has an issue. So they're spearheading it and bringing it to the forefront. But it's an advocate for the other departments as well to utilize. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. I agree with Mr. Johnson, Mr. Wahlberg. I'm sad to hear, Ryan, that you think the VAC is not fiscally responsible. Having been their liaison for the last year and a half, I think they are.
Never said they weren't fiscally responsible. I said we weren't if we're paying rent for somewhere.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. The thing, this is why I have to speak on this right now, because the VAC is located in the downtown area. They have a lot of their own funding. Their legislation was just changed. Their walk-in traffic from veterans is significant. It won't happen if it's in an off-site location out of the downtown. And I find this argument to be apples and oranges about this issue before us now for the health department, which gets connected to a couple of boxcars and a caboose about bringing all the stuff inside and not spending money on renting. Those are two different issues, and they ought to be approached separately. I think, and I agree with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Wahlberg, it's not a lot of money, but if they've got it in their budget, the health department should do it and make that recommendation back to us. But I think it's a slippery slope if we talk about the consolidation of rental places in the context of this discussion. Thank you.
Mr. Mueller, I know you want to piggyback Mr. Curry, but let me, Mr. Mueller, go ahead.
So Ms. Tobin, on the ARC fund, that comes out of, so this fund is funded through federal and then it gets spent and only has to be spent for improvements in the county. Is that correct?
Right, there are certain things that could be spent on, but that's up to you to make that. At your March finance meeting, I was going to bring a revised spreadsheet so you could see where we are with the funds, what's been spent, what's been allocated, and what's still remaining.
Go ahead. No,
Mr. Curry.
To go back to what Mr. Wiltsey said is the VAC doesn't even have a handicap accessible bathroom. So if you've advocated for them for so long and they have wounded veterans there that can't even use a bathroom, then I guess shame on you. Second of all, a new facility would have all of that and combined. So if we're putting apples to oranges, as you say, and it doesn't matter to rent because it's downtown traffic, can you give me a percentage of how many people walk to that VAC?
I can pull numbers later. I can tell you each month they give a number of the people that come into the facility, whether they drive or walk. I can't break that down. But like I said, I would like the discussion on rentals to be different from the discussion of the approval of this project. And with respect to the handicapped washroom, are you saying to me, and Ryan, I don't know, maybe you're right. Are you saying to me that the PNC Bank doesn't have a handicapped accessible bathroom?
I'm saying the VAC is located on the second floor and they do not have one up there. That is what I'm saying, yes.
They don't even have a bathroom in the VAC upstairs.
And then they don't have a handicap accessible bathroom in the bank because that was the issue that was told to me. I work with them all the time. So yes,
okay, well,
that's
I
what I'm
wasn't
saying.
aware of that, and that's significant. And I'm quite surprised that there is no handicap bathroom facility in that bank.
Why would we?
Okay, gentlemen, I might interrupt. I believe what our motion on the floor is about is in regard to the spending of the money for the architect's conceptual services for the health department. So I think if we want to just let's stay focused on that. And if I could just make a comment, I think what we might want to do here, I know the motion's out. Maybe this is something we could bring back, maybe table it for now and look at this as maybe a conceptual plan for not just the health department, but maybe something that could be, including other different departments within the county. I'm not trying to take anything away from the health department, but I have to admit I've gotten a couple of calls. I did speak to Ryan for a little bit about this particular issue last night because he's on the board, the health board. I don't know. What does everybody else think? I just maybe doing this right now for just the health department and what their particular needs are. I mean, maybe there's something we could do to look at that, what they want to do, and maybe at the same time rehab something with the other side of the building, and maybe that could all be planned together. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too far out of the box, but I have to agree with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Wahlberg, what they're saying as far as the budget goes with the health department. If this is something they want to fund strictly on their own, maybe that might be something that they could do on their own. Other thoughts? Shot, Brian, but I won't. So go ahead.
I want to say Dan Street brought up a space study. Who remembers that? I'm not sure, but I want to say it costs close to that. So we can either pay to have a space study where somebody comes in here and shows us how to utilize space better. Either way, we have the same building. We have the same issue with renters that we're paying every month. And to say that that's not part of this issue is when a new building would comprise of all those is silly. I'm not disagreeing that there's not a better way to do this. I'm just stating that it's not just health department. It needs to be included. So if there's a way to introduce that, I'm all for it. I just want to make that clear before we move forward.
Mr. Schneider.
Is it possible to talk to these people and find out if they could make something that would design something that would do these others so that we can eliminate the rented spaces and utilize, put it all into one building so that everything is together instead of paying rent out for this stuff? I don't know why we couldn't have them maybe change their design a little so it's a little bigger so that we can house everybody at one spot.
Go ahead.
So to go along with the chairman's idea of some type of conceptual plan, that is, you're correct, where maybe it's not just the health department. We had our first department head meeting last week in about 3 years, which was very nice. And, we talked about some of the other space needs in the county as well, going to the courthouse as well as the public safety buildings. So we think that those needs also need to be looked at. So perhaps if you want us to go back and maybe have Saavedra quote us to do a study for all 3 buildings of some sort, we could look at something like that.
Mr. Thornberry, do you have a comment?
Yes. First off, the bank does have a handicap building or bathroom, but it's downstairs. Any veteran that's upstairs and has to use the bathroom has to come downstairs to use it. That's beside the point. I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think we ought to get with Amanda, get her thoughts on this. And if we even want to bring in some of the others that we're considering putting in that facility, I can tell you right now, you're going to have to remodel that whole facility over there and bring anybody else in it because they're going to have different needs. But I think that's a good idea to get as much input as you can in this. Yes, the health department has a lot of money, has to throw away. But they'll think they can only spend it on certain things, but we all know that's not true. But they have more money than they actually need, because I've seen some of their spreadsheets from way back. I know they got a lot of money, but we still need to get their input on stuff. We can't just say, you gotta do this. We gotta try and get their help. And it's better to get their help freely than it is to push them in a corner.
Oh, she's here.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Thornberry. Any other discussion? Mr. Johnson, sorry.
There's.
Hang on, Dave. I know you're there, Dave. I'm sorry. I missed you, but let
That's okay.
Mr. Johnson
Thank you.
talk.
That's right. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of discussion here about other buildings and making other buildings, things like that. I want to be careful how I put this, because I don't know how much come out in open session right now, but it's my understanding the county's in the process of purchasing property that has office facilities there that can be remodeled and utilized for VAC, for CASA, for hopefully other facilities. And that was part of the thinking behind the purchase of that particular property. So if anything, if the decision is that we want to wait and have these people do another study or whatever, I guess that's fine, but we need to take that into account. We're making an investment already to hopefully cover those issues or some of those issues or help with them. So again, I think if the health department wants to have a study to build a addition or build a different facility, have at it, utilize your own funds.
Mr. Branson.
I think it's clear that we've got more questions and answers about this for tonight, and I would move that we just table this for like 30 days, send it back to committee, and see if we can get some answers to all of these questions, because we're not ready to make a decision on this tonight.
I have to agree with you. So I guess what we'll do is at this point, we will maybe withdraw the motion. Brett, would you be?
She made a motion.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Mr. Wiltsey, you wanted to make another comment before we do this.
Yeah, I just want you to know that I pulled my VAC file. And for example, in June, July, and August of September 22, they have walk-in clients, 14 in June, 17 in July, 19 in August. Total number of clients seen, 85, 78, 83. That doesn't answer the question whether some of them walked in because they drove in and parked. But I mean, there is some data available. And I just think that this discussion about the architectural thing it should be separate from any big picture of how many agencies we're going to bring in.
All right, very good.
So there's a motion by Sherry to send this back to committee.
Well, we're going to withdraw the motion.
I mean, you could do it either way. If you wanted to withdraw the original second and motion, and we could do that, and we'll put it, or if you want a motion to table it.
Point of order though, she's made a motion. She made a motion. So
But it wasn't seconded.
we didn't even get an opportunity to ask for a second. So, a motion was made. That needs to be dealt with first.
Ms. Branson, what was your motion again?
You don't know.
I move to send it back to committee for further evaluation, but if it simplifies everything, I can simply withdraw that motion, and then you can just take it from there.
Gets us to the same place either way.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
That's fine.
It's fine. Okay.
I withdraw the motion.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Branson.
Simplify.
I'll withdraw the motion to approve the proposal.
All right.
Here.
Very good. Okay, we'll send this back to finance then. All right.
Under 11.3, ordinance 2311, amending section 506 of Appendix B, Boone County subdivision regulations.
We have a motion before. Sorry, we have a motion. Is there a second?
We're going to remove.
Oh, that's right. We're removing it. Sorry. Go ahead. Trish, I'm sorry.
Sure. This motion, this issue, we're going to ask to move to March because we believe in looking at our subdivision code that we should have given notice of the public hearing that has to be heard at the beginning of the meeting, and that was not done. There's no danger in, there's not going to be any consequences regarding any impact fees being imposed between this meeting and next meeting. There wouldn't be any impact on that. We did, Ms. Tobin had contacted all the taxing bodies and proponents of that ordinance. So everyone is aware that it will be on our March 16th meeting.
Okay. Come on.
All right. 11.4, motion to approve the purchasing.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curry. Any discussion?
Brian Riley,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Brett Mueller,
Yes.
Brian Schneider,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Elisa Patterson. Yes. Tom Walberg,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Dana Logston,
Yes.
Marion Thornberry.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right. Any other finance business, Mr. Mueller? No?
Yep.
All right, very good. Moving on to section 12, special committee reports. 12.1, community building. Did you have a meeting yet?
I did.
Oh, let's hear about it.
Okay, so this was
Mr. Logston.
This was my very first meeting, and it was longer than we thought it would go because we had a storm the last month. So I was sworn in as a board member, and first thing is For those of you who haven't gone over there lately, the place is completely torn up. It's all under construction and they're doing a whole bunch of work over there. What you need to know about the financial part of it, they have over $5 million in assets. I don't know if anybody knew that. And they spent about $42,000 on just pretty much standard operations. They're going to move about $500,000 over to a CD, and they're looking for a CD that has a decent interest rate. They're also going to add, there's also the idea that they want to start taking credit card payments, but most people who use the community building pay with cash or check. And even though they don't get too many requests for it, having a big fair, and they think that they're going to have to take credit card payments that way. And I'll tell you about the fair in a minute. So what they're going to do is they're going to start using PayPal and Zelle as a way to take these payments, and then what they're going to do is they're going to make it so that they pass that on to the customer. So if it's like at 4%, they just charge an extra 4% plus the 50-cent charge fee for that. They're going to have a budget meeting that's coming soon. I don't have a date on it. Let's see here. Oh, yes. So the seed mural at 426 South State Street is getting a renovation. And, when the weather turns nice, there's going to be an audit at the end of July. And, so let's talk about the renovations here. They were kind of hoping to have all of the renovations by March 1st, but it's not going to happen. There was some couple of snags here and there. Contractors is what they said. And, but it's all kind of coming together and they're working around it. One of the exits is actually walled off right now because of the construction. I was supposed to tell you that on Friday, 2/24, the movie Rio is going to be playing. That's the one about the parrot. And it's very important that you all know about on May 6th, which is a Saturday, there's a craft vendor fair. It's only $40 for a booth if you display your crafting, $45 if you need power. They are about 3/4 full, so you still have time to go in and get your craft fair booth. I did want to tell you that they've done something very cool. They are using one of their full-time maintenance employees to actually paint the entire place. So they're paying for the paint and the brushes and what have you, but he's on his regular salary and he is painting the entire establishment over, and he's a really good painter. Craft fair. Yeah, and they're all real nice over there too, so it was fun. That's all. Oh, I am probably going to be on the rules and regulations on top of everything else. So that'll be my special committee within this committee. So, yeah.
Very good. Probably the most information we've gotten about the community building since I've been on the board. Thank you.
Actually, there is one other thing. The building leaks, right? In Julie's office, she literally sees water running down the walls, and we think it's because of an upper masonry problem where you can actually see it's cracked so bad above her office that you can see the rebar. So they're going to be doing a lot more. Construction on that. So there you go. And don't forget about the movie this Friday, and don't forget to go to the craft fair on May 6th.
All right, anybody have any questions about the community building?
Yeah, I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Dana, for your discussion about possibly going to Zelle and so forth. But would that mean that someone who wanted to pay cash or check would be forced to use Zelle and be forced to pay the 4%, or that's just another option of a plan for payment?
Yes, the second thing you said.
It's an option.
It's definitely it's an option. They would rather you pay by cash or check.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't have any report for UCCI. I don't think we have anything to, Becky? No. CCA, nothing. Let's move on to the 911 board, 12.4, Ms. Branson.
Yes, our last meeting was rather, I don't know, compared to the prior month, it was pretty mundane. The big thing is that, last month when I talked, the Ninja Service had, through the whole, 9 or 11 counties that are working together for the 911 service, contracted with a company that was not fulfilling correcting a lot of issues that were coming down. Right down to one of the counties had no 911 service for 3 days. And so the county stopped making payments to the company until they hired a tech to address the issues. And I'm pleased to report that they did hire a tech. They have addressed all those issues and payment to that company has been resumed. So that is a good thing. We also did not, at that meeting, we did not have time to really talk about the ambulance service, but under this time, if it's okay with the chairman, can I have a little leeway to just give an update on that?
Sure.
As you recall, Lifeline was owned by St. Anthony's, but the company has been sold. And so the new company is no longer going to be providing ambulance service to our county. And we looked into various ways we could kind of group the districts and stuff together to try and deal with it as a county-wide issue. And the bottom line is, because the time limitations and different contracts with expiration dates that don't mesh and all of that, it's going to have to be addressed by each individual fire district. Fire District 2 is basically everything south of Orth Road, which is a big chunk of the county, with the exception of the city of Belvedere, which has their own fire district, and they're dealing with Metro. They're in the process of negotiating with them. And the fire chief for District 2 is having public meetings to spread the word about what's going on, how they're trying to address it, how they got into this situation. And I would encourage everybody to try and attend that meeting if you can. There's a few of them coming up. Rodney and I went to one about a week ago, and the next one is, I believe, on the 25th, a Saturday at 9 a.m. It's the fire district building is right there by the post office on Henry Lucal Lane. And it'd be a good idea to attend that.
I agree, and I would encourage any citizens that are concerned about the ambulance service within the county to attend that meeting as well. He's going to have a couple of them. I know there's one this Saturday and a few Saturdays in conjunction, all in the same place. So we are definitely trying to get the word out. Chief Kuntz has organized these meetings and gone above and beyond at this point. So, Mr. Wahlberg, yes.
Yeah, just to add to that, thank you, Sherry, for your report. I believe there was a nice article in the Boone County Shopper
Good.
today that will have the dates for you and a little more detail. So I just want to call that out to those that want more information.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Branson on the 911? All right, we'll move along to 12.5, Northern Illinois Land Bank Authority. And I believe Ms. Gieske, Sherry Gieske is on the line. Sherry, you want to talk about your report?
Yes, I am. And I think I know that Michelle attached the report. So I'm sure you've all taken a look at it. I think the most important thing that I have to say about this report is that we do now have one that is in play at 4261 Fernhill Road in Boone County. The land bank is monitoring it. The tax buyer is still contemplating whether to pay the $28,000 in back taxes. If in fact he does not, then we will pursue the acquisition. But I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Branson? I'm sorry, Ms. Gieske.
The other Sherry.
The other Sherry.
Sorry, I got the first name right. Getting there. Nobody has anything? All right, thank you, Sherry. Any other information? No?
Nope, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, we will move along then to any other committees have anything that I might have missed? All right, we'll go on to 12.7, schedule of committee meetings. Mr. Curry, can you let us know when the next admin? I know
March 2nd.
March 2nd for the next admin meeting. Finance meeting, Mr. Mueller?
It would be March 9th.
March 9th is the next finance meeting at 6 o'clock on both of those meetings. And our next county board meeting will be on the 19th, I believe, at 6:30. Right here in this building. 16th, rather, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, look at the, I had it written down. It's the same as what it was supposed to be last month. All right. March 16th at 6:30 here in this building. All right, any other unfinished business before the board? All right, correspondence. Do you want to take that one or?
Again, there's numerous information regarding the UCCI conference that's coming up next month. So if you're interested, you're welcome to sign up or let us know if you need help signing up. Most of those expenses are reimbursed from UCCI.
Anybody have any questions on any of that? It's all in the board docs here.
Mr. Crone has something.
Oh, Mr. Crone, yes.
I just had one quick one. One of the correspondence has to do with the roundabouts. For a while there, we read a lot of information on the Illinois 76 roundabouts. There was a lot of talk going around that they're dead, and they're obviously, according to this communications, they are not. They're currently performing the architectural study in that area. So it just takes a long time for the state to develop a project. So they're still active. It's just taking a while to develop that. So.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions on any of that information? Executive, what are we going into? I do believe we need an executive session.
Pending litigation, potential litigation, and personnel.
All right, so we'll need to go for, we need a motion to move to executive session for, let me list them first here.
It's for pending litigation, potential litigation, and personnel.
Pending litigation, personnel, and he did it to you again.
Pending
And potential litigation. Let's put it together. All right, so, and personnel. All right, Mr. Wiltsey made the motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mueller. Roll call, please.
Ryan Curry. Brent Mueller.
Yes.
Brian Schneider.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Elisa Patterson.
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg.
Yes.
Sherry Branson. Yes. Dana Logston.
Yes.
Marion Thornberry.
Yes.
Ronnie Riley.
Yes. We will adjourn for executive session at 8:00.
You couldn't charge last night, could you? You couldn't.
We turn on the line, Mr. Chairman.
I want them to do.
Actually, I plugged it in the charger.
Hang on, Dave. I'll let you know what to do here.
So my battery's up and off. I charge.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
I get home, I'm gonna have to fucking lay down and charge some more. Hearing aid went. Sitting all of a sudden, I couldn't hear anything because your ears are plugged with them.
But I just
I'm trying to take those off. Like, oh my God, this has just been a bad day.
Right now, Dave, Alyssa, just stay right on the phone there. Don't log off or anything.
I'm going to wait while I get.
Thank you.
That's the
It's fine this morning, but the tree went down, something and must have tripped the wire across the wires.
What about trusting lawyers? Who said that?
And I think
I just need to shut that down.
That's $1,200 I spent this month, just in motors.
Can't turn that into insurance. Or, I mean, go after ComEd because it's their problem that's causing it.
I'll see what happens.
I'll deal with it in the morning.
Okay. I like that. It's
Unbelievable.
I see his name. Sometimes I want to.
It does sound that way.
I already warned him once. I'm like, if that accidentally comes out, I'm just, I'm sorry.
Bueller.
Bueller.